While some Senior Spotlight episodes tend to focus on some of the highest achieving students, those involved in what seem to be the most activities possible, we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we overlooked those quiet leaders in school who are often dubbed the nicest kid you'll meet or the hardest worker I know. It's even more remarkable when substantial obstacles are overcome to achieve those levels of praise from school leaders. In this episode of Senior Spotlight, we travel to New Tech High, where one senior is making a path for himself into the future while leaving a lasting memory behind. At this late September Roosevelt High School cross-country practice, after a 10-minute warm-up run, it's 6 800-meter runs with only 45-second breaks in between.
Actually, speed workouts are definitely not necessarily my thing, but for whatever reason, I guess I was feeling really good yesterday, so.
New Tech High senior Jacob Woolridge is making it look easy.
The main reason why I like running is because of the team part of it. Like, once you get to know your team, especially in high school, you guys basically just become family, and you build really good relationships. Another thing too is just kind of the positive impact you can make on each other. That's what I really like about it. But also like that part of it too, you just get kind of, it's a decompressor for the day, you know what I mean? You get to have fun with your friends, but you also get to work all your stress off at practice.
Jacob is among the top 5 Roosevelt boys cross-country runners, and that means achievements like placing in the top 7 at a recent cross-country meet in Omaha.
I think our team is doing really good. I mean, we definitely need to, work on like pushing with our competition, things like that, instead of really worrying about pushing our, like where we're at on the spot of the team, if that makes sense. But other than that, I think we're doing pretty good.
Running has been in Jacob's blood for a long time.
I think it was one day, I was about 9 years old, and for whatever reason, we were like playing in the gym at my elementary school, and I decided, you know what, I'm kind of bored. I kind of just feel like running. So I went to go run some laps in my gym, and I was like, even though this is extremely tiring, like it kind of feels good afterward, So I was like, I kind of like this.
In what appears to be very much an individual sport, the team atmosphere is crucial for success with this program.
I've seen him at cross-country meets, and he's a good teammate. I mean, he cheers on his team. When he's running, and he's probably helping guys during the race, but when he's not running, he's watching what's going on with the rest of his teammates, and I think that's a really nice thing to see. He's cheering on the Roosevelt Rough Riders, and he's there for them, and I think that's a big deal.
It's a perfect example of the skills learned and honed in extracurriculars and in school classes crossing over and helping in each other's areas. At New Tech High, one of the foundations of learning is working together in groups.
I think Jacob is the kind of student that we all want more of. He is a hard worker, perhaps one of the hardest workers I have ever met. It would not be unusual to get an email from Jacob late at night as he was working on homework with questions he had. He also is the kind of student that looks out for other students in the class, given that we're a project-based learning school and he works a lot in groups. It is not unusual for him to put others first before himself when working on projects. Jacob has an amazing way of putting people at ease with, first of all, his smile. He's got an amazing smile and just lights up any space he's in. And letting members know that they are just as important, if not the most important piece of what's being worked on that day.
The very nature of this school is what drew Jacob to it.
I chose it because, to me, they seem a lot more focused on your future, because you take classes that, like for example, seminar right now, focusing on, looking back at times in our life where that were most impactful to us and how we can use that to better ourselves. And we also try to do career searches and do a bunch of different things that help us like that, try to explore our options for the future. And I think that's really beneficial. That's part of the reason why I came here. Another reason is because there's not as many people, so you don't feel overwhelmed. But also because I remember the presentation that they did at Memorial, and it seemed like they cared a lot about their students here. And it seemed that the way they taught us to present things and to collaborate in groups and things like that, I just felt like, hey, this is something I'm going to use for the rest of my life. And also, what I feel like they do better here is that you actually get to solve real life problems in your class that apply to that class, so you know at least has some sort of real world application. I like almost everything about New Tech. I mean, the way we collaborate in groups and how we can constructively come together to overcome challenges that we face is awesome. Not only that, but you also get to know your teammates more or group mates more on a personal level, and I really just like being part of the team and being just a helpful member in it. Another thing I really like about New Tech is the staff, definitely. I really like our 4 pillars. I feel like we're a lot more disciplined than sometimes in the other schools because we have trust, respect, responsibility, and excellence. And the teachers are really good. They're going to give you constructive feedback, but it's not to put you down, it's to help you get better, and that's what I really like about the school.
In addition to seminar, his class schedule also includes marketing, astronomy, and meteorology, this personal finance class, and then a couple of classes tied to his love of fitness.
He's in a sports officiating class. We take just a small group of kids, 3 usually, and we team them up with a team sports class. And throughout the semester, we have those kids come in and they participate a little bit with the team sports class to learn the activity, and then we throw them in as an official role once I feel like they have a grasp of the rules. And so they're making calls, they're blowing whistles, making calls, and being a little bit different role maybe because of that part of the class. Jake just loves the gym. I mean, he likes being there and he likes being active. I wasn't sure if that was the class he was going to take, but he's outgoing enough to where he wants to be part of that. And so and not just him, there's a couple other kids, we've had to teach him that, you got to blow the whistle and make a call, and kids got to live with the call you make. And so there's been a little of adjustment, not just for him, but for all the kids that have taken that class. But it's a good one. I think he's learned a lot already. The hardest thing I tell the kids, the hardest thing is to actually make the call with what you see and then having to stick by it. Just blow the whistle and then make the call. And if it's right or wrong, whatever, that's fine. But you've got to make the call. I said, we don't have instant replay, so you make the call, you do the best you can, but just getting, like you said, confidence to blow the whistle and say, hey, this ball was in or this ball was out. That's the hardest part for him.
He ends his days at the Career and Technical Education Academy, taking this Health Careers class, where today the discussion is all about patient caretaker communication.
My last class today is Health Careers. That's a really fun class right now. We are learning about the different types of sanitation, such as antiseptic techniques and donning and doffing gloves, when to use certain types of materials, and how to clean up biohazardous messes and things like that. And I'm also we also just got started talking about internships we'll take the second semester, which I'm extremely excited for.
For the remainder of his senior year, it's one of the things he most anticipates.
Definitely the internship for Health Careers too, because I really can't wait to see what it's like to actually work in the medical field, at least a little bit, and so I can start to know what it feels like to interact with patients and make a better impact on their life.
Because it's right in line with what he wants to do for the rest of his life. Become a physical therapist.
Fitness is a big part of Jake's life, I think. I mean, he's obviously run cross country at Roosevelt, and so I think he's interested in that. So when I saw that he took Health Careers, I thought, yeah, that's probably a class that is going to be right in his wheelhouse, And like I said, he's taken a lot of my PE classes. So I think fitness items, healthcare fitness, are things that kind of interest him. And so I see that as probably being maybe something he'll focus on as he leaves New Tech, maybe.
So I'm planning on going to Lake Area Tech for about 1.5 years, which is about 3 semesters, to get my PTA degree. And then once I start kind of making enough money, I'm going to try to save up enough to go to USC to get my DPT, which is the Doctor of Physical Therapy degree.
And it's all based on his desire to help others.
I saw last year that kind of a lot of my teammates were starting to get injured, and I was like, you know what, I really want to do something and try to help them out. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. And I just basically, my main goal is as a PT is to do the research, to help my patients be self-sufficient in the process and taking care of themselves.
Jacob has a plan for his future, has earned important roles on Roosevelt's cross-country and track teams, and is known for being a humble, hard worker among his peers and teachers. But his path here was not without struggles, something you might never know if he didn't tell you.
Third grade, I was actually diagnosed with ADD, and then I was diagnosed with OCD back in 8th grade. And anyway, it used to be really bad where it's kind of embarrassing, but I used to kind of like run in the hallways and things like that during class time because I was afraid I wasn't going to get my run in. And basically all I was focused on at that point was exercise and eating right and all that sort of thing. And I just kind of blocked a lot of the friends in my family out of my life, and I realized how selfish I was. And my parents, they took me to therapy to get that all figured out. But also, I'm so glad I joined New Tech and Roosevelt Cross Country because they've helped me a lot through my life with maturing and things like that. So I really owe them a lot. I definitely say my parents because my mom has given me, and my dad also taught me many things I can use and given me many resources that I can use to help organize my day and stay focused on my goals. I wouldn't say I really have conquered my OCD and ADD completely, but how I've gotten better is just to the discipline or the things I've used to help me discipline through those things, especially not only my parents but also my coaches, my teachers.
ADD and OCD are conditions one has throughout life, but clearly Jacob has mastered what might have been hindrances rather than being mastered by them.
In leadership class, we talked a lot about future career ideas, and I remember at that time as a sophomore, Jacob was interested in perhaps going into the physical therapy field or even the teaching field, given his love of learning and especially his love of sports. And so kind of sharing those interests with others seemed very important to him at the time. And now that he's in health careers, it sounds like he wants to continue in some kind of a facet where he is working with others, because he really does have huge strengths in that area. He is a teacher. He's very deeply rooted in his faith as well. And so I think it is that idea of teaching and leading others and putting himself second is what really drives and motivates him every day and will take him well into the future. Jacob doesn't really have many limits, in my opinion. He is open to it all. So it doesn't surprise me that he has so many interests. I also know that he's very interested in helping types of careers and being a member of something bigger. And so being in health careers, just learning about anything and everything he can get his hands on, I feel makes him just that much more well-rounded as a student.
In fact, the only labels associated with Jacob are hard worker and the nicest kid you'll ever meet. We heard it over and over again while recording this story, for good reason.
One of the hardest working kids I know. He really focuses on working hard and does a really good job of that.
I would say kindness and respect are two of his very important qualities that we need more of in this world, actually. And there is not a kinder, more genuine, respectful young man at this school than Jacob Woolridge. He's quite an analytical, deep thinker, which is why he's oftentimes up late at night, working so hard. He described himself in a creative writing assignment as being fair, forgetful, and forgiving. I wrote that down. That kind of stuck with me. Recognizing growth areas, but at times embracing those strengths that he has. He is incredibly fair, and like I mentioned before, putting himself second, putting the needs of others first is very important to him. It's not always necessarily so important to make sure that he is the most vocal person in the room or the person that stands out. He's definitely more of a silent, in the wings kind of a person, but the quality of his products and his presentations really make him shine in the classroom and among his peers.
The thing that you notice with Jake is he was a hard worker right away. Noticed that immediately his freshman year. And I think that theme has kind of stayed even as a senior. He works his tail off. He gets along with everybody. I mean, I don't know there's any kid in New Tech High School that doesn't like Jacob Woolridge. He's a really nice kid. And the staff, I think, really sees too how hard he works when he's here, and I think that's a big deal.
I oftentimes love to talk to Jacob about his cross-country endeavors and where he's at with his personal best and so forth, and he always really downplays it, but he is really pleased by those proud, successful moments that he has, and I think he would never brag about those, but when given an opportunity to share, he is always very open and excited to share what's going on with him in that sport. He also described himself as being analytical and altruistic. So definitely willing to put others in front of himself. And he recognizes too that his need for analysis, sometimes he can dive into an assignment and pull it apart and go off in different directions that even I hadn't thought that he would want to go and explore. So that makes him a really interesting and valuable member of a group.
As Jacob transitions to a new stage of life, he'll leave shoes to fill at Roosevelt, at New Tech, with his church and community organizations where he volunteers. His journey, his faith, his humble leadership and work ethic will serve him well into the future, but they also won't be forgotten where he's already left his mark.
I think just the way he gets along with his peers. I feel like he's a great group member. The school just thrives on the groups and the things that we do with that. And I think Jake's just a great person to have on your team. And so in terms of what kind of kid is New Tech, I think he's the kind of kid you want, because he's willing to do anything for your group, and he's friendly when he does it. And I think that is a really, really great attribute for him to have, and a really nice attribute to have as a PBL school here at New Tech.
I just want to make sure that people are good to others. Sometimes people are good to others only because they feel like they have to. I want people to be good to others and truly care about others because they want to, and they want to make a better impact on our lives, because we all come from different walks of life, and if we can see the good in each other and lift each other up, and provide that constructive feedback to help others reach their full potential, that's the mark I want to leave behind.
What will be missed when Jacob graduates this year is the hi, Mrs. Monahan, and his willingness to stop and walk with me, hold a door open. We certainly have many polite students here at New Tech, but Jacob really stands out as one. When you see him in the hallway, if he's in a hurry, he makes you feel like you are his focus, and he's no longer in a hurry, and he'll stop and wait for you or talk with you. I love to catch up with him on what's going on with either cross country or track, because he runs track in the spring. So he's definitely an active guy, and just really makes time for everyone whose path he crosses. I will miss seeing him and that beautiful smile and that time he takes with people.